Good evening, good evening. That type um, of temperature. Now, I was born and raised there, so it's not like I've never been there or, I just am not. It's been, I left in '09. So, yeah, no. But nonetheless, today, which was cold in Atlanta for me as well, but it was a good day. It was a wonderful day that God has made. So, I am excited about that, about what He's doing, what He's saying. And I want to welcome you to Spiritual Fine Arts. I am Dr. David Glover, and I will be facilitating. Um, and the purpose, again, of this ministry is not to replicate what has already been done, but to strengthen areas, specific areas within our spirituality, within our spiritual fine arts, within our gifting. Many of us are called, and many of us have gifts, and many of us are operating, but we're not really students to know how we should operate, what we should be doing, and how to even accelerate and hone our gifts. But that is what I have been tasked to do, and I'm going to do my part. So you are most certainly welcome to tag someone to let them know that I am on and we are in discussion. You are certainly welcome to tag people in it, comment, like and share. This is a safe space. Now, it does not mean that we agree with everybody or every perspective, but we are mature enough to be able to handle, to listen to everybody, to understand that everyone has a perspective, that your way of thinking is not the only way of thinking, or your experiences have not been the only experiences. So come on in. We're going to be talking about environment and its importance as it relates to gifts, as it relates to how we operate and how we move forward. So just want to welcome you, and we are going to get started. So firstly, let's talk about our gifts. Now, gifts in and of itself is not good or bad. Not good or bad. It is actually placed into your hand. It is gifted unto you. It is given unto you. You're born with it. Or some people, they're different school of thoughts, but your gifts are contingent upon its surrounding. And so we want to talk a little bit about that and how you can shield yourself and make the best of your gifts. Again, I want to hear you. I want to engage with you. I want to talk with you. So what are your gifts? And I ask this every week. And if you answer me every week, I am happy for you to do so. What are your gifts? Why are you placed on the earth? You have a purpose. You have clear intentions of being here. You were not just a happenstance, a mistake, or any of those things. You were placed with a sincere purpose. So I want to know, what are your gifts? What are you here for? What are you operating in? What is your passion? What do you crave? When you wake up, what is the thing that drives you? When you hear it, when you feel it, when you sense it, when you're in that environment, what makes you move in a positive direction, in a whole direction? Because that is your gifting. That is your area of expertise. And that is the area that will give you satisfaction. But it's important that when you recognize what gifts you have, who you are, what you're called to do, that you protect that you understand it, and you know how to harness it. Now, in our environment, we have been very narrow-minded about giftings. We've been very strategic about how we manipulate others so that we can control them and their gifts. And so we in the black church especially, we've suffered from people not being able to operate in their gifts, to not be able to flourish in their gifts, not to be able to expound in their gifts. And so it all comes from your environment. And a lot of times environments are inherited. Okay, so like the church I went to, when I was born, I was raised in a church. It was not, I didn't go out and decide what church I wanted to go to. My mother had me already in a church, and so I was already given an environment, and from that environment it began to nurture or hinder some giftings. It began to shape my ideology, my thoughts, my perspectives about gifts. And so originally, I remember growing up when they said that there were 9 gifts. There were only 9 gifts, and they even divided them down into different kind of sectors. So there was what is it? The gift of working of miracles, the gift of faith, the gift of speaking in diverse tongues, gift of interpretation of tongues. There was a gift of prophecy. There was the gift of word of wisdom, word of knowledge, and I'm missing a couple more, 2 more, but those were the 9 that were ascribed, the divine 9, if you will. And so then after that, we graduated and we found some more gifts in the Bible. Oh my, look at that. We have more gifts. There are also the gift of administration, the gift of rulership. And then, so it kept growing. And so what we should understand that the Bible, which is a roadmap, is a guide, is not the all-inclusive. It cannot contain everything. So there are giftings that may not be particularly placed in the Bible and inscribed, but they are in fact gifts. And so we also have, whether you have 2 different schools of thought, which is one is gifts are born within you versus gifts are learned or ascribed on you. You can have premises for both. I think it's both. But the point, whether they're from birth or whether they are learned or nurtured or given at some point in life, discovered, then you still have a responsibility to nurture and how you handle your gifts. So your environment knows how to nurture your gift. Have you ever been to a church and they when you walk in, everybody kind of has the same pattern, has the same outline, has the same thought. I actually went to a church, was raised in a church, a particular church, and I left that church once I got about 15, 16. Again, nothing I wanted to do. It happened. Mother left, and so she took her family with us. That included me. And so years later, when I revisited that church, I noticed and forgot how loud the people were when they got to the mic. It was like, it felt like, and this is my experience, it felt like when they got to the mic, they yelled. And the more intense they were, or the more they felt the spirit, the louder they got. So that when they yelled, it signified that they were really feeling something. And so, of course, me being who I was at that point in my journey, it was like, oh wow, I can't believe that I subscribed to that. And how many times have we looked back on some environments and noticed like, ooh, I know that it was happening while I was there, but it didn't feel the same. It felt your maturity had moved on. Your thought had evolved. And so you have to give your time, your environment, the allotment that is due. That also goes into time span. There are certain environments that are only for you for a certain time in life. When you go into that, we would think that something was mighty wrong if we saw a 14-year-old going to the playground with the 6-year-olds and the 5-year-olds, or getting a rattler, because certain things, certain behaviors, certain environments are only conducive for a certain amount of time in certain spaces. And you should be able to outgrow that, and you have to be able to let it go. And we all know that there's some anxiety and stress when we are doing change and when we're doing transition. When you go from when a baby even who's been at home all the time and they first go to either daycare or preschool or kindergarten, however it is, there is that anxiety that first time that they have that fear and that phobia, well, not maybe a phobia at that point, but that angst about something new. But we know that growth and development of that child is wrapped up in the fact that it's best for all things and all purposes that you move to a new environment, that you move to the next stage, the next place. And so we all find that sometimes, I've even had it when I was at a certain church. I had to go. I went to another. It was a musical, and got a prophetic word over the mic in front of, I was in another city and state. Where they got up and gave a whole thing about you are to leave your church. And I mean, I don't really subscribe to that, but I mean, it was a whole big series, that came and said this has been one of the worst years for you at your church because it is time for you to go. Your time has expired. And I wasn't getting into it with anybody at the church. I wasn't wrestling with protocols or with my pastors or with other leaders, anything like that. But my time had expired. And because I was in a place where my time had expired, it was affecting and actually causing diminished growth within myself. It was actually causing me to go the opposite way of positivity. And because I mistook loyalty with my growth and development, that I didn't recognize that I wasn't going against or giving up or trading out or being it wasn't a bad thing that I left. It was good for both sides, because they don't need me there if I'm not supposed to be there, and I don't need to be there if I'm not supposed to be there. So we have to be able to recognize when nurturing no longer is feeding, our environment is no longer feeding our gift, when our environment is negatively impacting our gifts, when we've done all we should do, when we've given all we can give, and when we've gleaned all, when we've gotten all that we should get, it is then time for us to move to another place. Has anybody else been in that place? Has anybody else ever had that happen to them, where they were in a place past the time that they should be, and how it negatively impacted them? It started taking away your joy. It started taking away your peace. It started taking away your sanity, your sobriety. Your choices became ill-informed because you were no longer in a place that was allowing growth. But not only that, your environment should awaken your gift. It should tap your gift. Have you ever heard like a group of preachers, a group of singers, or a group of dancers, actors, or anything, and they see someone who is doing a wonderful job performance, whether they're preaching, whether they're singing, whether they're acting, whether they're, or even people who are doing, who have the gift of helps, and they see a great person or a great deed done, and it inspires them. It awakens something in them, or not even, maybe even awaken, but nods them. It makes a good singer want to sing. It makes a good preacher want to preach. It makes a good actor want to get up and, I want to, give all I have, or a dancer give even more, when they are around the environment that conduces them to be better, to strive better, to push better, to thrust better. You are actually in a good environment. That is a safe space for you. Also, and we don't talk about much about it, but your environment should foster responsibility. It should make you come up to a standard. It should make you set excellence as what you are going for. You should not have subpar standards. You should be the best you that you should be. Now, you should not be someone else. You should not envy someone else, but you should be able to look at and be in an environment that keeps you responsible for your own self. Saying, did you come up, did you practice? If you go to chorus or you're in vocal classes, well, did you practice? Did you work on your scales? Did you work on your solfege? Did you work on all diphthongs and all that? If you're an actor, did you rehearse your lines? Are you still on paper? Do you know all of your stage points? If you are a preacher, have you studied the Bible? Have you exegeted the text? Have you done your due diligence? If you are a humanitarian, have you sought out different places to be able to give of your time, to give of your service? Have you witnessed to somebody? If you're an exhorter, have you encouraged somebody? Have you admonished somebody? Have you pulled on somebody? What have you done today, every day, to make sure that you are exercising your gift, that you are stretching your gift? Have you, if today, set a goal. When I wake up, I want to encourage 5 people. I want to be a light to 5 people. I want to speak to 5 people. I want to reach out to 5 people. I want to write a song today. I want to write a script, just a page, even if it's just one line. I need to make a commitment and be responsible for the gift I had. The parable in the Bible speaks about how Jesus gave talents. It says that actually it says the parable that Jesus said that there was a rich man that gave to his servants whom he loved his wealth. He imparted to them wealth, and he gave some 1 5, he gave 1 3, 1 2, 1 1. And he said that some of them did and came back with multiplied from what he had given, and then one buried it. Well, how is your integrity with your gift? Are you manipulative with your gift? What are you doing with your gift? How are you using your gift? But your environment can teach you that. I have not seen so much, and I'll say this is if you don't like the platform, there's other platforms, or you could just scroll right on. But there are other platforms to look at. But I have not seen so many times when we go into church settings, and we go into even I had to do as I was going from minister to eldership. In order to be ordained, I had to go through these classes, and sometimes these classes were not what I would have thought. They taught you basically how to use your gift to get money, to get, and I'm not telling you it's wrong or right, but there is a line that you need to understand, that are you manipulating people? Are you lying to people? Are you using tricks just so that you can get money? Or are you really investing in people and telling them that planting a seed really produces a harvest? Or are you using these gimmicks and tricks so that you can pocket your book, because there's an 80-20 percentage rule where I'm going to raise this offering, but I get to keep 80% and you get 20 of the secondary offering that I raise? Is this the path? So therefore you're pushed to make a better offering. So you got to use all the tricks they teach you in wherever you glean them from, so that you can make a better offering. Well, that is a misuse and a mishandling of both God's people and the gift that God gave you. So you have to be able to be responsible and be accountable. That's folding right on into accountable. Your environment should make you accountable. It should make you say, give an account of yourself. What have you done? What have you given? What have you extracted? Who have you helped? Where is your fruit? Where is your gifts going to? What is it ascribing to? You have to be able to be in an environment that does that for you. Also, your environment should foster learning. You should always be, there's an adage or saying that says that if you're the biggest fish in a pond, you're in the wrong pond. And the point of that is saying that if you are the person that knows everything and you can't get anything from other people, you can't glean from other people, you can't learn from other people, then you're in the wrong pond. Now, I don't say particularly that you need to go into a pond where you now are the smallest fish. I think a pond that it has some diversity, especially since that's my area of specialty, diversity, equity, and inclusion, that you should, but you all have to have somewhere where you can pull from somebody, that you have a mentor, that you have somebody that you can look up to, that you have a ministry that you can at least get thought patterns and maybe even tailor it to yourself, but be able to look and say, hey, I can model after that. The Bible even says, mark the perfect man and behold the upright. Be able to look at somebody, do collaborations, do mentorship and protege programs. Be able to get out there and make the best of yourself by learning, by being open. You should not be so closed-minded, and you should not be in groupthink. Everybody should not. If everybody is of the exact same opinion about everything, then a whole lot of people are not thinking. A whole lot of people are not putting forth the God opportunity and creativity that He's given all of us. So you have to be able to be in an environment that fosters learning. Also, you have to be in an environment that fosters non-intimidation. And that works on a couple levels. Non-intimidation, where you're not intimidated to use your gift. And specifically, if your gift does not, if you don't hit all the right notes, if you preach and you're not quite right, or it didn't quite go the way you wanted to go, you should be in an environment that allows mercy and grace, that extends. If you give a prophecy and it wasn't quite 100% right, and I know we have a big thing about, especially prophets, about people who were off, like they're a false prophet. But that's, if they give a wrong prophecy at one time, what makes them a lying prophet or a false prophet. That is inaccurate. In fact, your Bible even talks about the grace given unto prophets, saying that if they give and speak, they're actually called presumptuous prophets. It's the actual term for them. But you have to be in that way, an environment that allows you that space and time, that allows you to be able to be comfortable being yourself. That does not compare and contrast you to other people. And we have a lot of that, especially I know in a group of preachers, young preachers coming up, we sat around that table or around the pulpit area, and they used to call it round table or tag team. And we all got compared. Bottom line. And I know it's a very tough thing to do, and I know sometimes we have different styles that appeal to us more, and styles that are more appetite whetting and sensational. But allowing that person to know that whatever and however you demonstrate your gift is just as valuable as another person is invaluable. Letting them know that your style, even though it may not be just like theirs, is compatible to God's glory. That God's plan for your life does not include you having to look like somebody else, be somebody else. Okay? So understanding all of those things. And so you should seek healthy environments. Go to clubs, Facebook groups or LinkedIn groups or other groups that you find that are likened unto your passion, because iron sharpeneth iron. So I need people who are like-minded so that I can get my juices to flow, my creativity to flow. That even maybe some hurdles that you've come through, you may have an answer or an antidote to it, a remedy and a resolve to it that I need, and vice versa. I should be able to pour into you and you pour into me. It should be reciprocal. So we should be finding places that embraces us, that lifts us. They even have a saying that says, go where you're celebrated, not tolerated. So you should be able to go somewhere where they are acknowledging of who you are, that they're not disdaining your gift. Also, go into places that stir your consciousness, that bring up the spirit of whatever. As I talked about before, when you have a preacher and another preacher gets up and they're really expounding, they're really preaching, it brings up preaching you. In fact, a lot of times preachers, and I've heard it all the time, and it's definitely happened to me, where they say that you heard somebody preaching and you get a word to preach off of their word, not their word. I'm not talking about their word, but God drops a word inside of their message or from their message, adjacent to their message for you. I get it all the time. So you have to be able to be around people and environments that inspire you to be better, to come up to a standard. And also, don't forsake reading materials and magazines or watching documentaries. There's one that's coming on tonight that I'm excited about the church and gospel music, or the history of the church. And so I want to see that, just to help embolden me, just to, stir up some of the things that I may have forgotten or some things I may not know. You have to be open to that. You're never too big. You're never too far. You're never that great that you can't learn from somebody else. Learn somebody else's perspective. Learn, even if you don't agree, learning it helps you be a better minister, be a better person, be a better servant, be a better caregiver to life, knowing that there are more perspectives and being able to respect more respecters and not call on the blood and 10,000 angels just because somebody didn't agree with what you heard, or somebody's gift doesn't look like yours or doesn't operate like yours, or you never heard of that, or I don't know about that. You have to be less judgmental and more affirming that that's between you and God, and in the day of harvest He's going to do the separating. In fact, the Bible says, how can you even judge another man's servant? They don't belong to you. You're not paying them. You're not even giving them the energy to do what they're doing. So even if you don't agree, even if you know that they are completely wrong, your job and your posture is not to judge them. It's to observe them, know what you know in the scale of what you know, because you only know in part. But take that and then pray for them, or, try and say, hey, can we talk about this? Why is it? What is your perspective? Because my perspective is this. And be respectful. But I want to encourage you today to take what has been said, share it, And on behalf of Spiritual Fine Arts, I want to wish you a wondrous and speak over your week, that you'll have a wonderful rest of the week, and look for positivity. Look for the things that are light. Whatsoever things are just and are of good report, think on those.